This podcast is not sponsored by Sattva. God damn it. Now let's get into it. So yeah, I mean, we basically just did a whole podcast before recording, but no one will ever hear it, and that's good, because it's our private. We had our private conversation there. We talked about the Illuminati and all kinds of secrets that only Tom Hanks knows. But anyways, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. I'm really excited. Again, I'm excited every time because I'm always excited about who I get to talk to. I've got the best guests every time. But I'm really excited this time because, you know, I've said this many times before on the podcast, but, you know, I've been doing this for a while now. I've been doing caricature since I was a young kid, and I've been doing it professionally for close to 20 years now. I've seen it all. There's so many artists out there. There's amazing artists, talented artists out there. But for me, you know, it takes a little bit of something different and unique to get my attention when it comes to caricature. And I could list a few artists that have done that to me in the past. But, you know, I've been doing it for a long time. I'm always trying to push myself, evolve myself with my caricature work. But most of the stuff I see, I'm like, oh, that's a good one. That's cool. But my guest this week, the first time I started seeing his work, I was like, that's awesome. Like, this is something different that kind of makes me, it makes me wonder how the he's doing it. How the heck, sorry, shouldn't say those bad words, everybody. We just celebrated Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. No, but in all seriousness, though, you know, the kind of work that I get excited about is the kind of work that makes me have a lot of questions. It makes me wonder, okay, how is he doing this? Because, you know, I understand the art form very well, and I know so many artists that do this, and so I get curious about things, and I get frustrated, and we're going to talk about that in just a bit. But before I do that, everyone welcome Mr. Dean MacAdams.
Appreciate it, Jason. Thank you.
So right away, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate this. But right away, I want to jump in right what I just said about the frustrations, because one of the things that frustrates me about your work is that, you know, I see, because we do a lot of the same kind of things for clients and so on, and it's not just you. It's there's a bunch of other artists out there like and this is my fault in a sense. It's all my fault, I should say. But like, you know, like I feel the same way about Victor Huaz. I'm sure you know his work. He does a lot for Rolling Stone, and artists who have a more like, and it's not saying that the style is simple. It's not, but it can be done efficiently and quicker, it seems, than when I do my work. Yeah. And I kick myself because I'm like, man, I like for example, when the Washington Examiner calls me to do a piece with like 4 or 5 people, I'm like, oh god damn, this is gonna be hard, man. This is gonna kill me, because it's, you know, and then it seems like you just bust these things out so fast, and I know it's not easy, because I mean, we've talked behind the scenes here, and it's just stressful for you as well, and but you have this style that I'm a little envious of, because you do great caricature, which is just, I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, you knock it out of the park with the likenesses. But then you've got this style that just, you make it look so effortless. Like, you know, has a simple look to it, but I know it's not simple because I can see all the things you're doing, and I'm like, how is he doing it so quick and so fast? So anyways, my hat's off to you, man. Because I think that your work is just phenomenal, and your work is the kind of work that when I see you post something new, I'm like, I want to see it right away. I'm like, what do you do? What do you do? You know? just because I also enjoy that inspiration. I think I get a lot out of it. So, anyways, please explain yourself.
Jason,
where'd you come from, man?
Let me just kind of return how I feel about your work as well, and thank you so much. I'm just happy to be on your radar, man. It's your work to me is, again, it's way up there. You're in the top tier of illustrators. So not just your caricature stuff, but the things that you've done for Time Magazine and the sensibility that you put into your work. The same way you see my work as being very easy, I look at your work and the amount of detail, and I'm thinking, how the hell did Jason do this? Especially sometimes knowing that you have less than a week to do something. So I look at your work and yes, my work is a little bit easier, but I'm just like, how do you do it? The amount of detail, because I think if I tried to do what you do in a couple days would probably take me a good 2 weeks, because you put pores in and you put all these little tiny details. And I love the way you handle your hair and your, I sometimes see like little hairs on the arms and stuff. Like, I pay attention to all of that. So
that's funny.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm blown away at how you can do it. As far as the simplicity factor for me.
Well, let me say real quick though. First of all, I appreciate that, but let me just say real quick. I'm not saying that your work is easy. I'm saying you make it look easy. Like I can.
Would you say that your work is easy too? Because I think no, you struggle through it every time.
I mean, my sketches I usually work really fast with the sketches, just because I want to get onto the painting, because I know I need every minute. Yeah.
I've seen your sketches, and your sketches are so much better than what I do. I have to explain to my clients when I do a sketch, I do it super, super fast. And I always say, with a little caveat, is like, it'll look better in the final, because sometimes like it looks nothing like the person. It'll just be a bunch of squiggles, but it just kind of gets a little bit more of the dimension that I want on the page, and just kind of figure out the layout. That's kind of what I'm concerned about. The color and everything else, I kind of deal with that a little bit later. Yeah.
Well, see, that's what I'm interested in is your process, because, like, for example, so I recently did a movie poster that took me 3 weeks to paint, because it was 17 people and there was a lot of complications involved. But I really enjoyed it. Had a good time. It turned out okay. And
it's beautiful. I loved it.
Oh, thank you. But it was, like it takes me a lot longer to paint a person, just because this is why I said I kick myself in the butt sometimes, because sometimes I'm like when I first started in my career, I was looking up to artists like C.F. Payne and Roberto Prada, Sebastian Kruger, these artists that were painting in a more like really realistic way, even Tom Fluharty. And I was like, that's what I wanted. I felt connected with that approach, but it takes a lot of time, and there's a lot that goes into it, and not saying that there isn't when it comes to you at all. What I'm saying is I see like for example, you will do a cover or a composition, and I'm like, damn, that's just so smart. and I get so annoyed. I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I want to
really?
Yes.
Man,
like I want to and again, I don't mean that your work is simple. Like, oh, he just, but you make it look so effortless sometimes, where I'm just like, oh man, I wish I had that. I wish I could simplify what I'm doing a lot more, in a way where I feel like I could, but it's not just that, like your compositions too, like your compositions. I love just all the little elements you put in, like just the weird, you have like weird perspectives that you'll do, and like angles on things where you get away with like drawing an object like all wonky, but it works. And I'm like, I can't do that.
So there's a reason
for me.
There's a reason for the wonkiness. When I was coming up in illustration, just to kind of back up a little bit, I went to art school. I studied graphic design, and this was kind of on the cusp of everything was starting to switch over to digital. So I was taught graphic design the old school way, when they were still doing it by hand and setting type and everything
Oh
by
man.
hand. It was brutal. And I think one of my last semesters that I had, they introduced like a kind of like a Corel Draw type of program, and it was just I didn't like it. It didn't feel comfortable. So I basically had one computer class in art school. But where I was lucky was that I could draw, but I was drawing a bunch of different things. And back in high school, I was actually introduced to airbrushing, and with airbrushing, it gave me the ability to draw things realistically, because you can throw down, with the airbrush, you can throw down this fine mist and get beautiful shadows or highlights depending on your colors.
Yeah.
And I was really, really, really drawn to realism, and people were super impressed by that. I remember in high school I would be drawing whatever, and people were like, "Man, that looks like a photograph, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, thank you very much." I could. So I became a really, really good copier, and then you kind of get to a level. Okay, well, you can copy really, really well, but what's beyond that? Because I'm just copying a photograph, and it's very impressive. And a lot of times when you see, even today on Instagram, the accounts that have the most followers, most likes, it's about realism. How close they can deceive you into thinking that's a photograph, and it's a wonderful skill set to have, but it doesn't go beyond that. There's no story to tell, or whatever. So after college, in my art school, I was probably, I would say, maybe I felt like I was in the top 5 people there. I went, and prior to that, in high school and elementary school, I was always kind of the best at what I did. I was always the art kid. People didn't even want me entering art contests because I would always win them. So I had a bit of an ego as well. And then when I got into art school, all of a sudden I saw some people that were, same level or even higher than me. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I got to step it up a little bit. And then after art college, I was in a ad agency, and I was doing storyboards for them, and they would let me kind of freelance doing different styles for whatever campaign they needed. So I was doing, some pen and ink, some stipple, some airbrushing, and that was all good. I was kind of doing a little bit of everything. But in that ad agency, I picked up an art directory book. It was called the Showcase back then, American Showcase, the workbook, and they were the size of phone books, like this thick. And I remember for the first time, like opening it up and just being blown away and actually depressed, because I saw people that were so good and so beyond where I was that I thought, I'm never going to get to this level. This is so beyond me. It was all my ego just floated away, and I just realized, shit, I really have to step up my game. So I think for about 4 or 5 years, I was, again, doing these different things, storyboards for campaigns and doing this. And then I got kind of tired. I was like, I want to do something that represents myself, and people will call it a style. What is your style? And I was thinking, well, what is my style? And so when you mentioned the wonkiness, it's basically not having enough reference material. So back then, as far as reference, you had to go to the bookstore or to the magazine rack to find your reference. And I used to have just walls filled with books that was my reference. But if I didn't have a reference, like sometimes it's really hard to do realism if you don't have the right angle or you can't shoot it yourself. And I was actually kind of good at doing cartoons. So I kind of transitioned from doing realism to more cartoonish style, simply because I didn't need as much reference material. I can do, an elbow that's a little wavy and an angle that doesn't quite make sense. But you get away with it because it's a cartoon. So that's kind of where I developed my style, and I borrowed a lot. As far as my influences, I was influenced very much by Mark Fredrickson. So Mark Fredrickson, he had these really crazy fisheye lens, but it was very realistic. So I was it was perfect. I didn't want to do what he did, but the way that he captured was beautiful. So I was very drawn to that. Bill Mayer. Do you know Bill Mayer?
I know that name.
Bill Mayer is an icon. He's probably 10, 15, maybe 20 years older. I think he's in the CF Payne range.
Okay.
And I think they all kind of came up, but
I'm going to look him up while you talk.
Yeah. So Bill Mayer has a very kind of glossy, airbrushed look. So I was very influenced by him too, because he got that kind of realism, but it was very kind of wonky. The one thing I got to explain to you about Bill Mayer, though, is he is a chameleon in the sense that when I saw his work, he was doing this particular kind of work, but I didn't know, like 10 years before, he was doing something completely different. And then if you look at his work right now, he's back to doing these amazing gouache, very traditional looking, slightly creepy looking paintings. And it's just, it was so good. He'd be a really interesting person for you to interview. But he was one of my influences. There was a lady by the name of Mary Grand Pré. She did all the Harry Potter book series. So her work has a very kind of beautiful tones and pastels. So all these people, and there's a bunch more. I was just like, I was soaking it up. Tim Burton was like a huge influence, the way his movies.
I can see that in your work a little bit too.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I was thinking that before, the Tim Burton thing. I was watching
Nightmare Before Christmas.
No, it wasn't that. I was watching this other one, Frankenweenie or something. And I was watching it recently with my 3-year-old.
Yeah.
She was scared of it. I don't think she liked that one. But I was like, man, some of that reminded me of your work while I was watching it. Just some little things, and I was like, that's interesting.
No, I
love Tim Burton stuff.
Yeah, I definitely studied it, and his whole thing was claymation. Is that what you call it? So it was stop motion animation. So it's already in a realistic realm, but the way that they would shoot, like the floors would be on an angle, so it would have this foreshadowing, but it would have a really neat effect. So I think I kind of incorporated some of that into my floors. Like, it's not like a perfect straight on view. When you look at my stuff, you can see a little bit of foreshortening, and it all kind of comes back to awesome. Not having enough reference, and going back to my realism, knowing how light kind of is cast. I'm by no means an expert, but I know simple lighting. So my stuff is still kind of cartoonish and wonky, but I know where my light source is coming from. I always think about that when I start actually doing the final. Okay, where is it? It's coming from, the left upper side, or it's coming from the bottom, or it's backlit, or whatever. So I really kind of take that to heart. So just having those kind of skill sets, being able to know how to draw things a little bit realistically and still doing it kind of cartoonish, that's basically my style,
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's really awesome, man. It's really cool to hear you talk about that, because it makes perfect sense to me what you're saying. That's one thing I love about your work is you seem to have like this freedom I can see that like for example, an art director can give you a concept that they would give me, and I would be like, oh my God, this is gonna be so crazy. I'm gonna have to get all this crazy reference, because right away that's what I start thinking about when I'm being asked to do a certain thing. Like, man, all right, I'm gonna have to, because my style doesn't really allow as much for me to be as free. I mean, I do it sometimes. I mean, every artist does.
Yeah.
Like little aspects of things. I make things up, or even when it comes to expressions, I make up a lot of my expression things just because I painted so many people.
For sure.
That's one thing that I can kind of just make up certain things.
Okay.
And get away with it. But like, I look at like stuff that you do, and and I just love it. Like there was this one cover you did recently with, you did Trump and Pence on the elephant, and it was just so, it was so awesome, like how you captured the composition of it, the character, and but something like that, like I would be like looking at like real elephants and like.
But
getting,
I do.
Well,
I do
okay.
look at. Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
I know that you do, but I'm saying you like you're more free. You feel like I feel. Again, this is my own issue. Like I need to maybe loosen up a little bit more and not be so. Because I find like sometimes I personally feel like with my work, sometimes I feel too attached to reference sometimes, and then I see something like that you do. I'm like, oh man, like it inspires me to try to do. To like open up a little bit more with things, because I think that's one thing that's, as an artist, always looking for new ways to improve or grow or inspire you to try new things. And so I see that when I see certain pieces that you do, where I'm like, and actually, not necessarily your work in general, but recently I did I joined a bunch of fellow caricaturists for this online. There's a caricature convention that we do every year, and this year we couldn't do it, obviously because of everything going on. So we did a virtual online version of it instead of And I told myself, like, pull the big stick out of your butt, like loosen up, relax a little bit, just have fun, and just try to like not rely as much on the reference, and just try to rely a little bit on the feeling, And so I was doing that, like where I basically sketched each one of the people that I was going to draw. I sketched them very quickly, and I was barely looking at the reference when I sketched them. I just like kind of looked at it, did my impression. And then I just stayed with that impression, like the real abstract almost. I was like, I'm just going to go with that.
I saw some of those. Those were really amazing. But what you do is, you really stretched your proportions. I can't remember specifically which piece it was, but I remember it was like a really kind of a elongated jaw, and it's really, really funny. But when it comes to the work that we get paid for, you have to kind of pull back. I know you kind of want to do this really, really crazy Trump or Biden or whatever, just have like a 3-foot forehead or whatever, but we really have to kind of pull back on that. So when it comes to caricature artists like this convention, I see that in you. Like, I know you can go crazy with it. It's beautiful. It's so fun. And there's people like Manny, right? Manny from 80 Arts. He's one of these guys that just blows up all the proportions.
Yeah, he does it crazy.
It's so awesome. Fun, and I love it. And then when I put my work next to his and just kind of compare, it's like, God damn, mine is so boring.
Well, he's another person where I'm like, I see what this. I'm like, how, dude?
Yeah, how do you see that?
Well, Manny knows I love him. He does a lot of mushrooms. That's what I say. I say that's where it comes from. No, but I mean, like the reason I brought up the movie poster that I did was 17 people. It took me 3 weeks. Is you just recently did a cover where you had 17 people, I think, and you had like a couple days. So I'm just saying.
I want to tell you about that. How I did.
It blows my mind though. Like
I'm going to give you a secret. How I actually accomplished it. Because
this is therapy, by the way.
Yeah.
This is
awesome. The art director that we both know, Philip, he's actually one of the best art directors I've ever worked with, just because he gives you a concept to work with and kind of run with it. So I basically just try to put my own spin on his concept as you do as well. So with him, you don't need to do a lot of thumbnails and lots of different ideas. And it's also because you have the time constraints, and he knows that. So I really appreciate, and he's got great concept ideas. Sometimes like he'll tell me something before I get the job, and I'll start kind of concepting it in my head. But then when he actually kind of lays it out in his sketch, it's like, oh, okay, I can work with this. This is good. It kind of gives me the freedom of not having to really struggle with the composition and everything, because he's kind of laid it out, and then I just kind of embellish a little bit.
He does that to me sometimes. Like, well, he'll explain to me. He'll send me a text first with the idea of the cover, and I'm like, oh, I don't think this doesn't make sense. Like what he's saying, it's like, and I'll just say, do you think you can do a little doodle, like whatever? And
I'm
he'll
always
just do like
a little scared
doodle.
to ask him. But he always does it, and he always actually spends more time on it than he should. Like he could just draw a couple squiggles for me. That's fine. It could be just like stick figure drawings.
Because sometimes when he writes it, though, it sounds strange. Like he'll say like something strange about a perspective or like, but then his right hand is going to be over here while his left hand is going to be doing this, and I'm like, that doesn't sound natural. Like, and then he'll do a doodle. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what he's thinking. Yeah. But anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
So back to the 17
people in 2 days.
Yeah. So I got a cover 2 weeks before. It was the election day cover, and that one, I think it had to have like 15 different scenarios going on. And normally I would just think, no, there's just no way you can do all this. But for certain clients like Philip, I really kind of look forward to the challenge.
Yeah.
I think, you don't think I can do this. It's not that he doesn't think I could do it, but he'll almost be apologetic and say, I don't want to give this to you. I know, but just please say no. And I'm like, no, I can do this. I can figure this out. And with that particular cover, that was hard because there was a lot of things I needed to integrate, scenarios. There was 15 different things, and we actually whittled it down to, I think, about 12 different people. And you had the coronavirus, you had Black Lives Matter. And that particular project I made a little harder for myself because a little bit of personally how I believe politically. One of the things that they wanted to combine, just to make it easier for myself, was an Antifa protester wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. And I had a hard time with that. I said, you know what, let me give you a protester with the Molotov cocktail like you want. And I'm also going to put a Proud Boys guy in the combative gear and the machine gun, because I kind of see those two as extremes. It's the right and the left, the very extreme sides of it. So I put them in the same category. But the Black Lives Matter, I don't put them in the same category as Antifa, because the way that I believe it's just Black Lives Matter too. It's not saying that no, we only should think about Black Lives Matter. No, it's like, for the longest time, people of color have felt beneath other people, and our lives matter. That's the way I see it. So I said, no, I have to draw this person on the other side of the spectrum, and I purposely drew like an older Black gentleman who you can, in the amount of time, it's hard to put emotion and everything, but I wanted to kind of convey, there was some hurt, there was some feeling behind it, and I was really happy the way that it turned out. But that whole
another cover that I saw, and I was like, God damn, that's awesome. And then I was like, I would have said no, because there's like no way I could have done that.
No, it was a hard cover, and that was
much in that 2 days basically.
But sometimes it's the harder covers, the most challenging covers, that I like the best. I did a Biden cover, just Biden by himself coming out of a grave. I think you saw that one.
Yeah.
I don't like that cover. I don't know. It's just like I struggled for 2 days. I kept on struggling with Biden's resemblance. I don't know. I was really kicking myself over that. And then sometimes when you're forced to not to spend too much time on something, it comes faster, looser, because you don't have time. You just have to do it. So you're thinking quicker. So back to the 17 person cover.
Tell me your secrets.
Yeah. No, I've never approached it this way, but the way that I did it was there wasn't a lot of composition. He just wanted straight on women, of the GOP. So I was able to, Google all the references. I had maybe 3-4 references, good references for each person. And had I done one person at a time, I would have never finished, because the first one would have been like, okay, that's good. Then going on to the second person, okay, you don't have quite the same energy as the first person, but okay, yeah. I got through to the second person, third person. Holy shit, this is going to take forever. So I knew going into that one that it was going to be very, very tedious. So what I did was I just did face shapes. That's it. It was just like, there was no nose, mouth, eyes. It was just the face shape. And I did, okay, first shape, I spent 2 minutes on it, 3 minutes on it. You know what I mean? Just got the colors, the shading. My shading is coming from here, my light source. Did that, spent 2 to 5 minutes, went on to the next one. So I did this assembly line, just face shape. So I just had a bunch of eggs, basically. You know what I mean? And then I drew the next.
And you work in Photoshop when you work digitally? Okay.
Yeah. So then I did the necks and the clothes, and I was just doing one by one by one by one. So it was very kind of methodical, almost like a factory line. And that way I'm not so committed, like, am I getting this expression quite right? No, I'm just kind of going through the motions, just like Ford builds their cars. So that's what I did. And all of a sudden, so I had the hair, the face, the body all done probably within the first half of the day. And I'm like, okay, this is going pretty well. And then so we usually get the assignments Sunday night, Monday sometime, Monday night. So I got the job on Monday night, and by Tuesday night, I had finished the face shapes, the hair, the eyebrows, and I think that's it. So the next day, I just had, okay, now I do noses, and noses were really quick. I spent maybe a couple minutes on each one, and just nose, 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 mouth, so mouth, mouth. And our deadline was for Thursday to 2 p.m.
Yeah.
I finished Wednesday by 5 p.m. It was all done. 17 caricatures.
See, this is insane, because the last one I did was Biden sitting at the desk with, he's like tied down to everything, his fingers and everything's tied down. That took me the exact same amount of time to do the one person.
Yeah, but you had so much more detail. And, if I blew up my illustrations next to yours, mine would just look like little cartoons. It's the amount of detail.
Yeah, but still, I'm just saying though, you still, this is the thing that's awesome about your approach is, first of all, like the style, the way that you color it, and like it might take you like not very long to just like color in one person, but what carries the work, what takes it to the level, is that your likenesses are, that's what kind of drives me nuts a little bit, is because like it's awesome. And like there are people that I like, illustrators that I know that struggle with certain character, like some people are just harder for people to get for some reason.
Yeah.
But like, for example, I haven't seen very many very good Pences. Like, I don't know why people seem to miss him, but like there's a couple that you've done. I'm like, man, it looks, and I think the style helps a little bit, where like I want it to be like an animated cartoon. Like you really nail it to a point where like that could just be like the iconic, what do you call it? The hero character design for like an actual. But what's impressive is that you did it so freaking fast. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. I don't want to forget about it. Is I want to know more about your relationship to caricature. Like, when did you start diving in and getting into that in your career? Because you're like, I was thinking of you when I was doing the caricature convention. I was like, dude, if he was a part of this, he would kill it. You would kill, dude. The amount of like, no, you would. Trust me, man. Next year you got to do it, man. You got to do it. They're going to be in Vegas, and if we're all in person, you got to go, man. But
and how do you draw? You bring your whole setup with you, or
you can you can, like I will probably if I go next year, which I'm hoping to, I'll probably bring like my iPad,
Yeah.
and maybe my Mobile Studio Pro,
Mhm.
so I can do Photoshop if I want.
Mhm.
Or I was actually thinking what I might do is like maybe just instead of doing a bunch, I might just do like one oil painting or something, or acrylic or something. So I might actually bring a canvas or whatever. I don't know, but you can do anything, you know. But anyways, I want to go back to the caricature thing
The
because
character thing, yeah.
I'm very curious because that's one thing I really, aesthetically as a whole,
Yeah.
I love your style, your work. Like you know, this is something I talked about with Chris Buzelli on my last podcast. Is he's got a very unique style, and we talked about like, where does an artist get his style?
Did you guys talk about style, or I thought you talked about tree
Squirrels.
rods
We-
for an hour?
We talked about squirrels for a while. It actually was only 20 minutes, by the way. We did talk about squirrels for a while, but
Yeah, I love his style. It's
yeah,
really,
no, but his style is really awesome, and but anyways, technique and aesthetic and a style, like that's something that you I think you have wrapped up real nicely in a nice bow, like bam, like you have this style, like this is Dean MacAdam, like it's so recognizable, it's so instant,
wow,
like right away.
wow. Thank you.
But to me, the foundation of it, the key of it all is your skill as a caricature artist, because you really nail people like with a very simple you make it seem effortless, like, but it's like, damn, that's 100% that person, and it's like the proportions and the character, like, so I'm curious about your approach to it, like what like first of all, how you got started, like what brought you to caricature, and then also I would just love to know your perspective on caricature as far as what you think when you start to draw someone, because I'm always curious about that, because caricature it's different for everybody, like how we see it,
So just kind of listening to your podcast, I've watched most of your episodes, and a lot of the stories have been very similar to the way that I've kind of approached it too. It starts off being in junior high school and just being this kid that likes to make people laugh, and I would be drawing my teachers and other students, and you pass it to one of your classmates, and they get a kick out of it, and that's where kind of that whole caricature aspect came from. It's basically kind of making fun of people, and people really enjoy it, and that's what I did in junior high school. I was a little bit of a kind of a goofball, and when people like it and they laugh and they have a positive experience, you kind of tend to do that same thing again, so that was it for me. And so much so that sometimes my teachers would see my drawings and they'd kind of get a kick out of it, and then they would show another teacher, and then, oh, do me kind of thing. So back in junior high school and high school, actually, for the yearbook, I did most of the teachers in the yearbook, caricatures of them. So it just kind of, I don't know.
Did it come natural for you? Like you just started
kind of
drawing?
did. Yeah. No, I've always been drawing, but the caricature side of it, I can kind of analyze a face fairly quickly. I'm looking at your face right now, and I can kind of see you have arched eyebrows, and I can see the shape of your face. So certainly, certain people are harder to do than others. The worst people for me to do are, young 20-something white, pretty women, because you change the hairstyle and it becomes a totally different person, or you change the makeup and they're so interchangeable. But when it comes to somebody with a big nose, or or large ears, or spaced apart eyes, you have something very easy to gravitate. And as a caricature artist, it's basically seeing something realistically and then just stretching it a little bit more, to make it exaggerated, kind of funny. So yeah, that's always kind of come pretty natural for me. I actually used to do caricatures at my local flea market when I was 13 years old. So,
wow.
People would sit down in front of me and I would draw their picture, and if you're doing a good job, you'll have somebody looking over your shoulder, and then somebody else comes, and then a crowd draws a crowd, and all of a sudden people want to see what's going on. So you would have everybody kind of focused on your drawing, and you're doing a good job when you would hear somebody saying, "Oh man, that's so funny. That looks just like them,"
Yeah.
So I kind of fed into that and was realizing that I can do this. I'm moving in the right direction. But at the same time, back then, it was just one of my skill sets that I was okay at it. It was nice to have that to fall back on. But then I was telling you, I was trying to do the realism with airbrushing and try to be hyper realistic with something. So I was doing that, and then I was doing something else. So, and then as I mentioned, after art school, I really decided that I need to kind of focus on my particular style. What is it that I want to convey? And the way that it started for me, actually, so after about the 4 years of art school, I went to most of the local magazines that I had in South Florida, and I was showing them caricature style work. And I would show the art director, and they would say, "Yeah, I think I have something for you." So it was really cool that I would do a piece of, on an expose on this person, and it turned out pretty good, and I had something in print. And then I would go to the next magazine or newspaper and say, "Hey, I did this for this person." And they'd say, "Oh, okay, I have something for you too." So I was starting to kind of corner that local market. And then after that, then started kind of branching out. But yeah, so I kind of have a little bit of two different styles to my work. I do the caricature style, and then I do the more cartoony style, where my characters are much more simplified. It's like, kind of these upturned noses and googly eyeballs and stuff. So that really lends itself more to the kid stuff that I do. But the caricature side, it really kind of focuses more on the likeness, but the bodies I can still kind of, it doesn't have to be so realistic. Like for you, for example, I notice you're always putting beautiful folds and shines and textures in your clothes, and you've nailed it. You've absolutely nailed those folds. That's the way a shirt folds. But for me, I just draw like 3 little lines or something. That's my indication of folded clothing. So I try to kind of streamline that a little bit more for my style, and it's again,
freaking funny though, dude. Like I look at the way you draw your bodies, I'm like, oh, it's so no, it inspires me though, man, because what it does is it inspires me to be like, you know what? I'm going to try to be funnier with my body and my pose when I draw people. I'll still render it my way, but I want to try to, I've done it before. It's really, what I find difficult about illustration in general is that it's hard, especially with caricature. It's really hard sometimes to know what you should do, what you can get away with, because every client's different.
Yeah.
And some people are terrified of caricature. I've gotten away with more and had more fun in the last, well, I've been working with Philip since 2006, I think.
Holy shit.
And,
wow.
And so I've gotten away with a lot with him as far as exaggeration, and I've done some really funny body things that I did a really funny Obama and a really funny what's this other one? I can't remember the guy's name, but he's cutting the Constitution up and stuff. But there's a few pieces I've done where they let me just have fun with the whole body and pose, where I know other publications, there's no way they would have let me do that,
Right.
But like, we share covers week after week, with the Examiner.
And I love that.
I know, it's so much fun.
I'm so excited to see your cover and Tom's cover. So much so that I go onto the website and I'm like waiting for it. Come on, it's gonna come up.
I do the same thing. It's funny.
Yeah, I love it.
But I mean, one of the things I like about working with them is they give you more freedom, to have fun, because a lot of publications are just really they're not like that. But anyways, I don't want to go on a tangent here, but like I do feel inspired when I see some of the stuff that you're doing like that with the bodies. I'm like, oh, it's so funny. And even with sometimes Tom will do like really funny things with the body poses. And so whenever I get the chance to do that, I always try to, it depends. Again, it depends on what the concept is or what their point of the, because sometimes it doesn't, it'll look weird if I did it for a certain piece, so, but anyways, I really love that though. I love seeing how you draw a bunch of people that are interacting together. That's always a lot of fun because you do a lot of really funny things with the, just like even though you're doing just maybe a few lines for the creases in the sleeve, it's hilarious. Like,
do you know who is a master at that I've kind of learned a lot from is Al Hirschfeld.
Oh yeah.
Because he does everything. It's just a line. And the beautiful things about his lines is that he has this movement. There's a flow to his work. And I think I try to incorporate that into my style as well. I want I don't like jagged little angles and pieces. It bothers me. I want everything to kind of have a flow or a straight line. So I really kind of, I try to think about my shapes. So if you see like the angle of your face right here, you might see, okay, there's an indentation here, your cheek bulges out, then it goes in again, then your jaw comes out. But depending on the caricature, like I might just do just one line, one angle for that entire shape of the face, even though I know realistically I see a bunch of different indentations, but that line it bothers me when there's too much breaks.
Yeah.
So I try to streamline it. And Hirschfeld is an absolute master at that because most of his work that you're familiar with, it doesn't incorporate color or anything. It's just a flowy line. He doesn't even do shading or anything. So he's the master of the shapes. And when you also mentioned putting a number of people into a composition, that can get really, really difficult because you might have a great idea for one, but where does this other one go? And where does, you're probably going to see this guy's arm behind him. But Hirschfeld didn't think about that. He didn't need to. He just it was all cohesive and it all worked. And, I find myself somewhere kind of in the middle. Like I'm not the most simple artist, but I'm not the most high rendering, beautifully painted, just photorealistic art. I'm somewhere in between. And sometimes I look at Hirschfeld, I'm thinking, why don't I do that? It's so much simpler, But, I've just kind of fallen into this category where I'm really, really happy with what I do. And this is what I know that I'm capable of. I'm never going to be a Jason Seiler. I'm never going to be able to do the realistic tones that you do and the underpainting and this whole broad knowledge of laying down oil paint. I marvel at it, but I don't know how to do it. I just kind of know how to do my own thing. It's not the simplest. It's not the most difficult, but it's mine. And for me, it just
God damn it, it's awesome.
I appreciate it. I'm glad. I'm feeling that this year I'm really, I don't know if it's maybe just the focus off of COVID because, I'm in my own little sanctuary when I paint, and I'm very thankful for the work that's come in. And I've just been focusing because I know that things are really difficult out there for a lot of people, and even for ourselves too. I know we don't get the same amount of work, but I've been, I think, more thankful for what I do this year than any other year. I think maybe some years I kind of took it a little bit more for granted, or I felt that I was, a little bit more emotional with my work. I don't feel like doing it. I'm feeling bummed today. I can't do it. And this year caused me really to kind of think like, my problems are not the problems of the majority of people out there. I'm thankful that the work has been coming in and I'm able to pay my bills, and and I'm able to do creative stuff, and we're able to work at home, and so many people are starting to realize that you can do that. But for us, we've been doing it forever, and it's just, I really kind of cherished my space, and as a result of it, I think my work is getting better. It's feeling more natural. It's not as much of a struggle sometimes. It's I'm excited to do it. Once I finish one, I want to jump to the next one. And in years past, sometimes I didn't feel that way, for whatever reason. And Yeah. So I feel like there's better things to come when it comes to my style, my work, my opportunities, and hopefully, the same thing for everybody too, for 2021. And man, I'm hoping good things, we get past
Yeah.
this insane year.
Yeah, man, for sure. um, I'm curious. I'm curious about your caricature mind. Um, when because I mean it's interesting. People ask me similar questions, and for me personally, I don't really feel like I have. I definitely don't have a formula or like a set way I draw everybody.
Mhm.
I kind of base it off of, you know, I mean, sometimes I'll start with the chin, sometimes the eye, sometimes I start with an overall shape, because the silhouette is kind of something I want to capture, and then I try to work
Yeah.
it into that. And so I don't really personally, I mostly think about like the weight of a person's face, um, whether or not they have got like a heavy chin or forehead, or
Mhm.
what it could be, or maybe it's the nose and the and the chin combined, or there's different ways. But I I I don't think that there's a one way.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious for you if that's very similar, or if you have, because there are some artists like Tom Fluharty, for example. He told me he mostly starts every single drawing with, I think he said, like the left eye. He just always
Really.
starts with the left eye, and just kind of draws the left eye and just draws the face out of that. And that's interesting. It's an
Yeah.
interesting approach.
Hmm.
But do you have any kind of um, way that you tackle it, or do you kind of just jump into it and wherever it feels right? Or
I think I tend to start off in the center of the face, so oftentimes it's a nose. Just it kind of, and then you kind of build outside of that because that's the center, and then you can kind of gauge your proportions from the cheek to go up and down. So that's I think I usually start off with the nose. So the eyes, I might have like a quick little indication, but the eyes are generally last for me. Just because if you get the eyes right, sometimes you can screw up a nose or the mouth a little bit is not quite right. But if you screw up the eyes, it's done for. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can have like a perfect caricature, everything else is spot on, but you mess up the eyes, it's done. So I usually save that for last. Nose just as a ground. I do the shape of the face, and then I'm always kind of like, oh, my nose is too small, too big. Then I kind of play with my proportions. And with Photoshop, it's easy for me to kind of stretch things too. Like sometimes when I sketch it down on paper, it looks good. I'll think, I got the person. And then when I scan it into my computer and I bring it into my computer, then all of a sudden you kind of look at it a little bit differently, or flip it or whatever. And then, if I just stretch this a little bit, then it starts working better. But
yeah. Okay. Interesting. Now, it was really cool that you got to do the King of Staten Island, work on that poster.
yeah.
I actually just finally saw the movie.
What you think? You like it?
I liked it. It was fun.
It was good.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was a different movie for Apatow. Like it was,
I thought it was going to be a little bit more funny.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be like a Step Brothers or something along that lines. And what Pete Davidson does on SNL, it's very exaggerated and stuff. And this was more kind of his life story with some comedic elements put in. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like uncomfortable at times. Which is like, but I thought it was cool. I thought your style fit perfect for that, and it was like, it was interesting. I was just wondering, when you like, I'm always curious about this from artists with working with clients and stuff. But what kind of prep did they do for you for that? Did they provide like, good description of what they're looking for? Or did they kind of just say, hey, did they send you the movie and say, hey, watch this?
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
It out kind of. Okay.
So that whole gig was, I like Pete Davidson. I think he's a really funny character, and I think he's got an amazing face for caricature.
Yeah.
So he's got like very kind of sunken eyes. He kind of raccoon. He looks a little sickly. So that job, I just wanted to draw Pete Davidson. So I did a piece for myself when I wasn't busy and threw it up on, the old Instagram. And Judd Apatow saw it for I don't know how, but he saw it. He friended me, and then he sent me a DM saying, hey, "You want to do something for me?" I'm like, "Yeah."
That's so awesome, man.
Yeah, and gave me a call, and I remember I answered my phone. I was on a run, and it's like, shit, I see Judd Apatow is calling me. It's on my phone. I'm like, okay. So, but he was really easy to talk to. We had a really nice conversation, and he said, do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. I'm going to send you the movie. So I got a little screen pass movie, and I watched it all the way through one time, and I'm like, okay. And then I watched it again just to then really kind of analyze. First is just like, do I like this movie? And yeah, it was fun. And then the second is like, okay, what are the important scenes in the movie? What's this kind of collaboration with the friends, and who's important and who's not important. And so no, the one thing Judd had asked me was, I want to incorporate everybody, kind of like what your movie poster has. He wanted to incorporate, I think, 25 people into this poster. And I said, sure, yeah, I can do that. No problem. And then I gave him my price, and he says, okay, how about we just, we do the modified version, just Pete, his girlfriend, the mother, the boyfriend, and his friends. How much can we do that for? And I gave him my price for that. So he was like, okay, that one.
Yeah.
So, the movie was going to be coming out in about a month. So I had a couple weeks to kind of work on that. And yeah, just as far as my reference, just freeze framing the movie, saying, okay, I like what's kind of going on. And by no means am I a poster illustrator like Drew Struzan, who you had, which oh my God, that was amazing. But he is the master of movie posters and composition and everything, likenesses and concept. It's so beautiful. So
amazing.
For me, I was just kind of trying to put a little collaboration and trying to of the people at the bottom, and then focus on Pete Davidson, and it just kind of worked. I don't know if I necessarily had a method for it, but I sent him my sketch, and he was like, "Yeah, I love it. Go for it." And then I did it, and he said, "Yeah, I love it. Go for it." It's perfect. And then do you ever second guess your work like after the fact?
I hate almost everything I do. Like after I'm like, oh.
Do you ever get an opportunity to kind of fix something like
not really? No? Usually, not. I mean, usually it's like it's published already or something like.
Well, for me, I have this really, really bad habit of thinking the piece is done and I love it, and then sending it to my client like, yeah, I love it. And as I'm sending it, I'm like, holy shit, I didn't see this, like this glaring mistake, or I could have done this better. And sometimes because I have maybe a couple minutes while it's uploading, I'll like, nope, cancel, go back, do it again, be sending it again. Shit, I missed this thing, and then redo it.
Yeah, no, I've done that before. Yeah, I thought you meant like after it's gone.
With Bill Burr, I had submitted it, he loved it, and then sometimes I need almost like a day to sleep on the work, and then when I wake up in the morning and I kind of look at it with, not with strained eyes, but I see it with clear new perspective, then I can kind of see my mistakes. But for certain clients, you don't have that opportunity, so you have to kind of see that immediately. But with Bill Burr, I just didn't get him quite right. And even though Judd Apatow said that he loved it, it's perfect, great, but I said, hey, can I redo his face a little bit? Can I just something's not quite right? He says, yeah, no, that's fine. So I ended up doing, and that whole piece I'm pretty happy with, because I think it worked.
Yeah, it captures it really well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Another piece that really hold on one second. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, okay, I wanted to also bring up another piece of yours that I really love is something that you did, I think just for fun, for the love of it, is the piece you did for Tiger Billy of Bobby Bobby Lee and Kalila and everything. I love that piece because you captured the just the overall like essence of the show. And I'm assuming you obviously must
I love that
fan.
show.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's one of my I listen to it every single week. It's one of my favorite things as well. So I love Bobby Lee, and I've done a few different doodles of him myself. I actually have an oil painting I started back there, a small one of him. Hopefully I can finish it sometime soon, but I just love the overall feeling that you were able to capture. It was just great, man. It's just again, like there's a certain sense of like if I get it's hard for me to explain sometimes. Like I feel bad. Like I don't want it to sound like I'm saying, oh, your style is so simple. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you've got this approach to your work where you have like this freedom that I really, really admire. And I feel like I want to drain your essence, like how in the Dark Crystal just suck some of that in, because I need that for myself a little bit. I want to be able to try to do that with my own work a little bit and kind of give myself a little bit more freedom to be a little bit more loose in certain areas and be a little bit more playful, because that's one thing I really love. You have a playfulness that I really get excited about when I see, and like that piece with Tiger Belly, you just the whole composition and there's like this movement, and it looks like you pause an animation. Like it looks like it's paused from a scene.
Oh, cool.
And so I love it, man. It's one of my favorite ones I've seen in a while. So, and they also shared it on their podcast, which was really cool. They did,
which was a total surprise. I had, reached out to them and showed them the piece, and I was hoping that we could do some kind of collaboration where they can sell it as merchandise or whatever, but it didn't work out. But they still gave me like a nice, Kalila gave me a shout out on her Instagram, on her stories, and that was cool, and I gained a lot of followers. And as a result, I ended up getting Tom Segura. He started following me as well. I'm like, oh shit, now I got to do a caricature of him. So I kind of felt like,
that's so funny. We're like this. I mean, the same thing almost happened with me. Like, it's really funny.
Well, once somebody kind of mentions you or showcases, and Tom, he started following me. I'm like, holy shit, okay, this is cool. So I'm going to do this piece in the hopes that they might feature it, and then he did. He responded right away.
The two bears at one cave thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
I spent a couple days on that, and then he posted it, and all of a sudden, like overnight, I gained like 3,000 followers. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of a high, with that. So you want to, I want to do, what's her name? Cummings. Whitney Cummings. Yeah. So I did her, but, and I got a little shout out from her producer, I think it is Benton, but she never, posted it or followed me or something, but that's okay, but it's people like what they like, and comedians, as you're breaking into that business. It's very humorous. It's very self-deprecating. So caricature, I think, and comedians, they fall hand in hand.
However, I gotta say, so the poster that I did had 17 comedians, or they were mostly all comedians on it. And similar thing. I was so excited and honored to do the poster. And I love comedy. I love the movie. And I really was just excited because I'm a big fan of a lot of the people on the poster. So I'm like, this is awesome. And, in my career, my work has been shared a lot by people, and they without giving me credit though.
I hate that.
And it's been used before. I've had to go after people and stuff like that. Yeah. So when things like this, happen, where you've got, a bunch of comedy or comedian celebrities or actors that actually share your work and credit you, that is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's that recognition that, oh man, they actually appreciate, because I appreciate them. I'm a fan, so it was really exciting to be able to paint them for this project. But the fact that they liked it enough to share it, like Jimmy O Yang shared my poster and made a funny comment like, that actually is the size of my real head. And I just thought that was so funny. And then Tom Segura like sent me a private message. I saw he was following me, and I was like, oh my God, he's like one of my favorite comedians. Like I really love his comedy and
so natural. Yeah.
And I follow his his podcast and everything like that. And so when he wrote me and said he was a big fan, all this kind of stuff, that's the coolest thing ever, man. That's like, it's funny because like guys like you and me, we pretty much are just like in our little cave all the time, just drawing people. And so it's every once in a while, like I get asked from people, do you still get excited? Like
I do.
And it's like, yes, like totally. Like I can't say what I'm doing exactly, but I just got a call. I'm working on a cover for Time magazine. Awesome. And every single time that kind of a thing happens, I'm like, it's like getting laid for the first time or something. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I'm excited every single time. And I can't wait to share with everybody, how awesome it was.
A Time magazine cover, I think, for just about any illustrator is like one of those pinnacle of successes, that everybody wants to get. And the fact that you've got a bunch of them and you kill it every time, it's just, I'm a little envious there. I want to achieve it. I don't know if it'll ever happen for me, but I'm still hoping, one day. But that's as big as it gets, that's a Time cover.
For you, I get excited and scared every time. Like, I get nervous every time.
I think you said a Mad magazine cover for you was like that was the one.
That was the one that, I mean, I have. It's the only artwork of mine that I have like hanging. Like in my studio, just because it's like, like a published piece. Like it
goes back to your childhood.
Yeah, exactly. It was like
us,
my art heroes. Mort Drucker, Jack Davis. Like it's just, to me, that was such a part of why I am who I am and what I do was Mad Magazine. So that was a huge deal for me.
Yeah. In many ways, like, I know I'm an adult, but I very much this 13-year-old kid still, especially with my daughter, she gets my sense of humor. And
how old is your daughter?
She's going to be 18 soon.
Oh, okay.
So, we've just always been super goofy with each other. And that's, I don't know. I don't know how to adult sometimes.
That's so funny.
No, I have my responsibilities and everything, so I'm okay that way. But it's just a lot of my playfulness and comes out in my art, and it was very influenced by reading Mad Magazine as a kid. That's like, I couldn't believe that this was a magazine and that I totally could laugh with it and get it. When it comes to professional accomplishments, like Time magazine is just one of those like, holy shit, that's like, that's amazing. So are you doing something more caricature style or more realistic for this?
No. I was surprised when like everything I've done for them has been like realistic type illustration, portrait type stuff. I did one caricature cover for them a year or so ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago now.
It was with Pelosi and Trump?
Yeah. And I was blown away that they were using a caricature cover.
Right.
Like I couldn't believe it. When they were telling me the initial idea, I was in my mind, I was like, oh man, this would be so much more fun if it was caricature. I was assuming it was going to be portrait type style.
Oh wow!
And then he goes, and I told him, I said, so this is like are you wanting like realistic type, And he goes, he's like, no, I was hoping for your caricatures, and I was like,
wow.
Oh, I think I just peed myself. I got really excited. Wow. But then, but it was a little bit different just because it is Time magazine and they don't really want to pick sides. You can tell they kind of lean one way, right?
A little bit.
More than, but I think so. Yeah, but at the same time, they were like, we don't want to, because my original Trump sketches, I was really excited to like just let loose because I was like, oh my God, I'm doing a caricature of Trump on the cover of Time. Like, oh, I was like, I want to get him. Yeah. Like, I want to like really, and I was kind of inspired by Victor Huaz, who he really does a lot of really great Trumps for Rolling Stone. And I was like, I want to let loose like what Victor does. I want to do the Vic thing, and just go for it. And so I did a few sketches where he looked very Toad-like, and I was just like, this is gonna be so great, because he's gonna get pissed and tweet about this, So I was like all excited, and then Pelosi's great to draw too. I mean, she's got that sunken in eyes, and
she's a skeleton with skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so my original sketch of her in it, so they said, this is funny, but it's too much. We have to pull way, way back. And then
and you had to do kind of a bit of a.
Well, we ended up doing like a more behind the scene, behind Trump. Yeah. Originally it was more, they wanted like a side, like almost a side thing. And then they were like, so they switched the idea, and then it was still fun to try to draw Trump from behind. And
he's very recognizable. His hair,
just the side of his face,
the way that you kind of part his hair and everything. It's like
it was fun.
He's a good person to draw from every angle.
And I just tried to make him look like a little toddler. Like I made him look kind of little, and and then Pelosi, they were like, yeah, can you just not make her look so zombie-like? So I had to like adjust that a little bit. But
are you doing pieces for them on the inside as well, or it's usually covers?
Usually it's been covers, but I've done like a couple. Well, no, I've done pieces that were meant to be covers, but then they ended up using them inside. So yeah.
How much time do they give you?
Well, this one I have a week to do.
This one, okay. Like a full week, like a full 7 days, or
5 days.
5 days.
Sometimes I have, with time, that's usually when I did the Pope for Time Magazine, I had I would have had more days, but when they asked me to do it, I was in Vegas working for schoolism, and so I started sketching when I was there, but I was so busy. It was crazy because I was partying with my Pixar friends. We were having a blast. We were teaching during the day, and then at night we were just partying in Vegas. We're having a great time. And then the next day I would be like, regretting the night before, and then having to like draw the Pope. And then I got my sketch approved while I was there, flew back, and then I had like 2 days to finish or something like that. Right. So it was crazy.
Yeah, I remember that cover. It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Man.
That was a crazy experience.
One thing that I don't know how you do is your hands. You've absolutely mastered hands, and for me, I hate doing hands. I'll actually, oftentimes when I'm doing an illustration, I'll leave the hands to last, and the way that I do it is I just shoot my own. I either use my phone or just use my screen and just do my screenshots of my hands, and so I'll shoot all my reference, put it down, and then it's like the last thing I do, and I hate it. But when I look at your hands, I just don't know how much you get, all the veining and texture and everything. And
I hate doing hands too, though.
Do you?
Like, yeah,
so beautiful.
I mean,
you can put out a book just on hands, man.
I appreciate that. But you know what? Do you know Ishmael Roldan? Do you remember him at all?
The name is familiar.
He was an illustrator that I really looked up to, caricature illustrator. And
he died?
Yeah. It was 2009. Yeah, he passed away. Okay. But he was someone I really looked up to, and he sort of took me under his wing. He was like a caricature artist that was in every single publication you could think of. And we became friends way before Facebook. And so we were just emailing each other. And I would send him my work, and he'd be like, those are the worst hands I've ever seen in my life.
Really? He'd call you out on.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He goes, that's a great caricature, but what's the point? The hands are terrible. And so I would feel depressed and like embarrassed and ashamed, and then I would redo it, and he goes, that's much better. And I remember one time he was just like, listen, you need to work way more on the hands, man. Like, I'm not, and also work on your head to body connection, and work. He just tell me and so I gave myself an assignment. I did I think 50 or more hands. I just I did it. I just got toned paper, and I took a black charcoal and white charcoal, and I did 50 or more hands, just over and over and over again, just drawing. I took pictures of a bunch of people's hands, and I just was like, I'm going to keep drawing. I'm going to keep filling up pages just of hands. So I mean, that's basically what I was, and then I remember like sending him another piece and he was like, ooh, oh, that's looking good. Like, and then we just had this back and forth thing, and then I started growing as an illustrator and getting more like, recognition, getting some actual publication type work. I got like Wall Street Journal and something else. And then all of a sudden it was really cool because we started becoming more like peers where, it was really cool. And then in 2008, he was the guest of honor at the caricature convention thing. And I was asked to come as a speaker that year, but then I was also asked to compete. And, or I wasn't asked to compete. Steven Silver, do you know who Steven Silver is? Yeah. He's an awesome artist. So I was going in 2008, I was going there to be a speaker, basically. And Steven's like, you can't come to this thing and not compete. But I felt like, wow, I wasn't expecting, I wasn't thinking I was going to do that. So all of a sudden I started feeling super nervous and scared. And I'm like, oh man. So I decided if I'm going to compete, I really better bring my game, because I'm like coming in there as a speaker and trying to like get people to sign up for the school I'm teaching with online. And I'm like, this, if I don't do well, I'm going to look like an idiot. You know what I mean? So I really brought my game. I ended up winning that year. But even though I won, like they do this gold nosy thing. Like if you win, you win a gold nosy. So I got the gold nosy, and I won a bunch of other cool awards, and I never won anything before. So that was like a really amazing, I should show you some, I have it over here. It's just big gold nose. But the thing that meant the most to me was because he was the guest of honor, they gave him, they created an award. I think it's called the Ishmael Roldan something award. I don't remember what the award's called, but he awarded it to me. And so it was kind of like full circle where he and I were both at the same thing after all these years, and he was like the guest of honor that year. And then he gave me, so I felt more like the gold nosy was cool, but the fact that Ishmael Roldan gave me that award, I was like, oh man, I'm
having this picture in my head of Karate Kid, and you're doing the wax on, wax off. And then finally you, at the end, you win the whole tournament.
That's what it kind of felt like. I mean, it was like a really cool thing, man. And then it was really, no, wait, I'm sorry. It was 2009, I think, when, and I'm getting my years mixed up. But anyways, but yeah, not long after that, he passed away. It was just a real bummer, man. But he's one of those guys that like I really appreciate, because he just told me like it was. Like he saw that he saw that I was not playing around and I was serious and I wanted to be really good, and then he didn't hold back on me, So I really appreciate that, because like even to this day I tell my students and I tell everybody that it doesn't matter how good your caricature is or your portrait or whatever. If the hands are terrible, the whole thing is worthless. It's worthless. The hands are just as important as the face.
But when it comes to my hands, they're not great. They're okay, but that's why I kind of simplify things a little bit. I don't spend a whole lot of time, but yeah, I still have to work on my hands for sure. And I absolutely hate drawing feet. Feet are the worst.
Oh,
shoes are fine.
Feet are like, I
like doing shoes. Shoes are fine, but I hate doing feet. I don't know why.
Hands though, like I really appreciate that you said that, but it's one of those things, like I said, I really get, it's like I enjoy the challenge of painting them. And I feel really happy when I do a painting of hands and it turns out really well. I'm like, oh, it's awesome. But the process of it is, I always have to really slow down and pay attention, and really, like I've really studied them a lot. And now what I try to do is, when I do the character stuff, I'm trying to have more fun with the hands and really do weird things with them, like push things more, put more character into them.
Tom Fluharty does that. He does really good hands. He's a great example of that. And I think he's really good at them is because the amount of time he spends sketching. He's constantly sketching, and he doesn't skimp on the hands. They're always very important to him.
He's great. He's one of those people. I totally agree, where he's putting a lot of character. Like I really think that and that's one thing that I'm trying to do more. Like I did that Pelosi where she's getting her hair cut.
Mm-hmm.
And I
noticed
like,
your hands on that.
I was like,
yeah.
I want to really put some character in those hands. I want the hands to have like that Cruella de Vil.
Exactly. They were kind of gnarled up a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Little,
But that's so much a part of it makes
Mhm.
that piece, in my opinion, way more fun.
That was a great piece.
I actually had to pull back on those.
Did you?
Like, yeah, Philip was like, the editor's like, those hands are too scary. Like,
really, I kind of pictured they would say, no, put talons and warts.
No, they were like, it's too looks like she's got claws and like it looks, but I pushed it more in my original sketch. But anyways, hey man, it's been so awesome to be able to talk with you all this stuff, and like I just really really enjoy what you do, and I'm always excited to see like your new stuff, man. And like I get excited about it. And like I said before, there's a handful of artists out there that do caricature work where I feel that way, and you're one of them. Where I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's so. I almost feel like damn it,
I feel the same way with your work, and again, just kind of being on your radar and for what you're doing with this podcast and getting the absolute best illustrators. The fact that you've kind of been asked me to even speak, it's really really flattering for me, and I'm very grateful for it. I was going to say, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I think I asked you like 5 times to do it. I'm like, come on, man, you got to come talk, man. I love your work.
Thank you. No, I spend too much time in my little cave, and sometimes just again getting out of my shell, it takes a little bit. Once I get going, and then it's fun. I want to talk to you for hours, but
well, that's why I appreciate you taking the time, because it's dude, a lot of people out there love your work too, man, and a lot of different people like have written me knowing that I was going to talk to you, being like, oh gosh, I can't wait, I love his work. So people are really gonna enjoy this, I think. But before we end this thing, before we wrap this up,
I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There are some fan art. So I don't know. I can't remember. It's like between 6 and 10 pieces. I can't remember exactly how many I have here, but anyways, I'm going to share the screen. So let me know if you see this, and then we'll look at this together here. So is this showing up?
Oh my God.
So little insulting, Jacques Lemonnier.
Oh, Lemonnier, yeah. Oh my God.
Black Sheep Lives Matter. Put it on my hat. Gosh.
Wow.
It's a little too chubby, Jack. Maybe a little too chubby.
No. You think? For you or for
me? A little too much, Jack. My feelings are hurt.
Oh, okay. I had this little blue box over your caricatures because I was just so focused on myself. I didn't really care about you, but
Jacques Lemonnier is like, oh, I'm gonna make him extra chubby.
Jacques, holy shit, that's amazing. He's awesome. So the last time I've seen a caricature of myself was my daughter and I got one done at in San Diego, and it was actually pretty good. But now seeing myself, like I can see myself as the middle-aged man that I am, and it's not so scary. It's good. I love all my little lines, and
no, I really love his work.
He's got my shirt, everything. Oh, Jacques, man, you did it. That's me. That's crazy.
I just like oh, dude, you should see your face. What, my face? It's hilarious.
So serious.
Hey, let's act it out. Ready? Oh, dude, you should see your face.
My face?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh, I love the expression, my eyebrows. Oh, I'm not wearing my glasses either. I don't need my glasses to work, but I need my glasses to see distance. So they add a little bit of character. That's so beautiful. And he's got even like little reflections and stuff in the line work in the glasses. Yeah. Yeah, you're a little too chubby. I'm thinking
a little bit.
Yeah. You're very shiny. Do you have and you have a little more facial hair usually, right?
Yeah. I usually have a dirty mustache. It grows in like a day.
Yeah, you've got one of those handlebar ones before, right?
Yeah.
Man, this is great. He got my ear and everything. I got these kind of weird indentations in my ears and everything. It's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Thank you so much, man.
And
should we just end it on that one, or is this what?
This is by Juan Gastelum. Juan Gastelum.
That's so funny.
I know, pissing contest. Which is basically what this whole podcast has been: is me telling you how awesome you are, and then you saying, "Yeah, you're cool too." But here's the thing. I thought that Juan did a great job on this, but I edited it because I think it needed to be changed a little bit. So here's what I changed it to. I hope you guys don't mind.
And you got a thick dick right there. It's incredible. I'm impressed, man.
Yeah. I needed.
You won the pissing contest. For sure.
Yeah. I couldn't help myself.
He's got my forehead for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
who is this? This is
by Dominic Zeilinger.
Dominic.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. At first, I was confused when I saw it, but then I realized what was happening. I thought it was a guy with an afro at first on the left.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize it was me in my other hat. But I got bit by a dog recently, so he's adding that to it. So I was confused at first, but yeah.
What kind of dog bit you?
Excuse me.
What kind of dog bit you?
I'm not sure what kind of dog it was. It's like a mix. I think it. I don't know.
Just running around in the trash can area? Or?
No, it's my neighbor's dog, and my neighbor. I don't say hi to people's dogs hardly ever. But he was like, "Oh, you can say hi," and I went to reach over to pet it, and it bit onto my wrist, and it punctured me. It went in pretty deep on my drawing hand, of course.
You okay now?
Yeah, it's still sore. It's been almost a month, and it's still sore. It's kind of crazy. It has that nice scar tissue underneath where it's like there's like a knot there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was crazy. It was it looked like I got stabbed with like a number 2 pencil. It was like a big hole in my wrist for a little bit. But
I thought this was some kind of commentary on the biting the hand that feeds you or something. I thought it was that. Like, wait, what? In reverse.
That's pretty funny.
This one is really cool because it has that Hirschfeld kind of feel to it.
Yep.
It's all about the lines and kind of the simplicity. So, again, kind of full circle about what we were talking about. Kind of got that whole aspect. Very nice. Thank you so much.
I love his work. He always does like something. He always does something really creative with it. I really
you have
enjoy
a bit of a coffin face.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or kind of also reminds me of like a French mime a little bit. It's pretty funny. This is a good one. This is by Christopher Hirschman.
Oh my god. Oh, that's so funny. That it looks like one of those filters where it kind of makes you like a kid. Like I feel like I'm younger than I am. It just
that's funny.
It's beautiful. Love the little white whiskers that are in my chin. I'm getting a lot of those. Man, my eyes, everything. It's so nice.
Yeah, nice.
There's a bit of a looseness to it too. It's like I'm melting away, or I'm being the rapture is happening.
That's pretty funny. Yeah.
It's beautiful, man. I'm honored.
And this is another one by Pierre Pregent. And it's weird. Never before in the last 2 years I've been doing this.
It's me and you.
Have like people been drawing, like I've never been drawn in the thing with everybody. It's kind of strange. I don't know if they had a secret meeting or what, but I'm in like half of these drawings. This is strange. I don't get it, but
it's so funny. It's so funny. It reminds me of like Tales from the Crypt or something magazine.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Everything.
Face the truth.
Even I had to use torture.
It's pretty funny. Seiler Terror. Okay.
That's funny.
Jason Darling, Dean McAdams here. Well,
Love
it. I'm not 100%. I get the whole thing, but I like it. I think it's cool.
Well, I think he kind of knew that this was going to be a little bit of torture for me. This is the way I kind of felt beforehand, but it wasn't, so it was okay. But no, that's really great.
Yeah, it turned out cool.
Yeah, love my flippy hair in the front there.
Yeah,
that's great.
It reminds me of like the old like Batman cartoons, like Robin's hair. Remember, like in the front, it would like there's like this weird thing in the front. It's pretty funny.
A little.
Those like old like 1939 or 1940s Batman comics. I don't know. Plus, obviously, they make it look like a comic cover, so who knows?
Very cool. Thank you.
This is actually the last one. This is by Mark Schumack. So it's a nice little. It looks like it's actually real pencil.
Oh my god!
It's pretty awesome.
My chin. I should grow out a goatee like that. That's very nice. I look. I don't know. This one has a bit of a Van Gogh feel to me. I feel like I'm in that time frame or something that you would see me drawing with Van Gogh for sure.
That's nice.
Very nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, nice drawing.
I think these artists. Thank you so much. They were very kind to me. They were not so much to you, Jason, but
yeah, I know.
No,
what the heck, guys? What's going on here?
It's such an honor, man. I don't see work of myself, and I haven't drawn myself in a while, but thank you so much.
Well,
I can't believe we got to do this because I've been watching all of these, and when I first discovered this show, I couldn't believe it. It's like, oh my God, these people have the same experience I have, and I was just relating to everything. So it made me feel a little less lonely in what I do, because sometimes it can feel that way. But we all have kind of the same experience, and loneliness, sometimes that's what breeds our gift, our talent, our determination. You have to be very focused. It's not usually a group thing.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear other people talking about it, and man, you've gotten some giants in the business. Drew Struzan was like, again, somebody that really influenced me. You don't really see it in my work, but his technique, I got to go back to when I started really honing into my style. I remember reading an article about Drew and his technique, and just how he used the airbrush, the kind of paints he used, everything. So what I did when I read that article, I ran out to my art store. I brought everything back, and I tried it out, and I failed miserably. It just didn't look like the right technique. And then a couple months later, in another magazine, he talked maybe specifically about the type of paints that he used, and then I tried it again, and and the right type of illustration board, and all of a sudden, I got it, and I was so thankful that he, was able to contribute his time to an interview back then, because as a young illustrator, kind of coming up, I needed to know how to do certain techniques, and so that was thankful for me back then. And now you're doing the same thing. There's people that are seeing this podcast that want to become illustrators, that are maybe just struggling as to how to get to the next level, and you have all these wonderful professionals that are contributing their knowledge and their insight, and it's really important. And for me, just to be a little piece of that is wonderful.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. And that's the whole point of doing this, is that very thing of just being able to talk with, I came up with this, the idea for doing this just because I love podcasts, and thought, I think I could do one of those. And then I was thinking, what could I do? And because of my experience and throughout the years, I've made friends, and I know a lot of different awesome artists. And I was like, man, I got a lot of people I can just start off talking with some pretty cool people. Yeah. And the whole point was, to be able to have real conversations with artists that you might never hear from this person ever, or get a chance to talk with them. And so I just think it's, I'm thankful for the platform to be able to do this kind of a thing, because it's a really awesome opportunity just to be able to share and just to have real conversations. Like Chris Buzelli and we talked about squirrels for 20 something minutes. But you know what? That's a cool thing, because you're never going to get to hang out with Chris and hear that. And you know what I mean? Like, I really love that whole, to be able to hear the different perspectives and different ideas from like your journey in illustration. And I know before I ask you anything that we're going to have some similarities, but what I love is when I hear the different things, that I'm like, oh, that's so cool. It's interesting, and again, like I'm personally a big fan of your work, partially too, just because it is so different from what I do, that it intrigues me. And I'm excited and happy that we finally got to talk, and I hope people enjoy this. And dude, I can't wait to see what else we do in the next year. Like, I love that fact that, it was the same thing with the Weekly Standard. Like, it was, me, Tom, and Gary Locke it was like we were always doing the covers for many years. Mm-hmm. And if I wasn't doing a cover, I was like, well, it's one of those guys. And so I was just like seeing like, and it was like almost like, okay, they'd do one, and then I'd be like, oh, I want to try to up my next one to try to take it to the next level. And it's kind of a cool thing. So I'm honored to share covers from time to time with you, or not share, but you know what I mean.
We alternate, and it's
it's fun.
That's the thing. I'm a big fan of what you do. I'm a big fan of what Tom does. And again, just I remember it was a little over a year ago, I got my first cover in the publication, and I'm like, okay, I've made it. I made it to their level, and now to be kind of being bounced around with you guys, it's that's
cool, man.
I love it. And yeah,
no, it's awesome.
I'm in great company, and you get compliments all the time, and I really appreciate people saying what they say. And but when I get a compliment from somebody that I really respect, man, that's big. So thank you, Jason.
Well, likewise, man. Feeling is mutual.
Appreciate it.
Before we end this Petty podcast, is there anything you want to try to promote real quick? I mean, you have your Instagram, which I think is just your name, or
it's Illustrator Dean.
Okay, yeah. Illustrator Dean. Yeah, but then also you have, I don't want to forget this, those apps that you did. I don't know if you're still doing those with the Trump face and the different people.
I'm honestly, I don't know if that's still going. It was a really fun project for the year. I'm not sure how successful it was on their end. There was a lot invested, but I think it's from what I heard, it's put on hold for the time being. But yeah, just my Instagram, and I have a couple puzzles. If you're into doing puzzles that are out there that are pretty fun. From Ravensburger, you can check those out and see them on my Instagram. But it's nothing else to plug. Just it's one assignment after another, or it's something I'm working on for myself, and I'm excited to see what what's going to happen in the future, and see what you're going to be working on. I can't wait. So
likewise, man.
Better things for 2021.
Yes,
I said that.
Thank you. Yeah, we could say that. All right, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for hanging out and watching. Next week, I will be talking with an amazing artist, Mitch Griffiths, and his oil paintings are just friggin' mind-blowing. Look him up on Instagram. I have a lot of questions. I can't wait to talk with him. His paintings are amazing. So. I've got a bunch of awesome people coming up in the next few weeks, and hope everyone's being safe. And for my American friends, hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving, and we'll all talk soon next week.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
You want answers? The truth shall set you free. I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.